Hey guys, in this video I will discuss the easy problem and the hard problem of code drift on binary search. So let's look at the easy problem first. It was request X chocolates. Let's look at the problem description. There are some children, each child having a unique ID, requesting different quantity of chocolates in the given order denoted by a 2D matrix A of size n cross 2, where AI0 denotes children ID and AI1 denotes quantity. A child can request any quantity of chocolate multiple times. The person distributing the chocolate has only B chocolates. You're asked to find maximum value of X such that each children can get a maximum of at most X chocolates, and the total chocolates requested by all children is not more than B. And the request cannot be served partially. For each children, requests are served sequentially. That is, any child cannot make a new request before completing the previous request. For each child, the total sum of chocolates she has received should not be greater than X and is of the order 10 to the power 5. So let's look at the first sample. The first sample was 1 2, 2 1, 1 4, 2 9, 1 1 and 3 2, and B is 6. That means first children first request chocolate with amount 2. The second, then he requests 4 quantity, then he requests 1. The second children first requests 1 and then he requests 9 quantities. The third children only request once with 2 quantity. So the maximum chocolate each children can get will be 5. Let's look at the explanation. So each children will get at most 5 chocolates. Children with ID 1 first request 2 chocolates, so that will be served. Now he requests 4 chocolates in his next request, but that won't be served because the maximum chocolates given to him cannot exceed 5. Now children with ID 2 first request quantity 1 and that will be served. Then he requests quantity 9, so that cannot be served because the total chocolates requested will get more than 5. Then the third children request 2 chocolates and that will be served. He does not request any other chocolates. Total chocolates requested by all the children will be 2 plus 1 plus 2, which is 5, which is less than or equal to 6. So 5 is the answer. So we cannot increase the value of 6 because when we increase X to 6, second request of child 1 was 4 and that will be solved because 2 plus 4 is 6, which is less than or equal to 6. And in that case, the total chocolates requested by all children would have been 6 plus 1 plus 2, that is 9, which are greater than 6. So the answer is 5 for this case. So let's look at the solution description. So the first thing to observe is that again we have monotonicity. So if a children can request, let's say, X chocolates, if our answer is X, that is, any children can at most request X chocolates, and then the total sum is less than or equal to B, then X minus 1 will definitely be our answer, and so on up till 0. So if X is our answer, then all the numbers which are smaller than X will definitely be our answer. So we can use binary search to find the maximum X such that the total chocolates requested will be less than or equal to B. Now, the only thing we need to find is how to check a given value. So let's actually look at this sample. So our sample was that 1 request 2 4 1, then 2 requests 1 9, and 3 requests 2. So 1 requests 2 4 1, 2 requests 1 and 9, then 3 requests 2. So we'll set low to 0, and now let's set high to 10 just for understanding purposes, because we know that high cannot be greater than 10 in that case. But for our general constraints, let's say we'll set high to 10 to the power 9, which is the maximum value of B. So first we'll check middle. Middle is L plus 5 by 2, that is 5. So we need to check if 5 is our answer. Now for that, we can just follow the greedy process. For each children, we'll keep taking the chocolates until the sum is less than 5. Otherwise we'll break and then find the total sum of chocolates taken. So for first children, we'll take 2, but we won't take 4 because the sum will exceed 5. So we have taken 2 here. For the second children, we'll take 1, but we won't take 9 because that will exceed, the total sum will exceed 5. So we take 1 here. And for third child, we'll take 2. So the total sum is 5. And B was 6 in our case. That means the total chocolates requested should be less than or equal to 6. And that is the case. So 5 is less than or equal to 6. So 5 is our answer. So since 5 is our answer, we'll set answer to 5. And now we'll look for higher answers. That means we'll set low to mid plus 1. So we'll set low to 6. Now mid in our case will be 6 plus 10 by 2, that is 8. So we'll check if 8 can be our answer. So if X is 8, then all the 3 chocolate requests will be served, 2 plus 4 plus 1. So first child will get 7 chocolates. Second child will only get 1 chocolate because if we give him 9, the total sum will be greater than 8. And the third child will get 2 chocolates. So the total sum is 7 plus 1, 8 plus 2, 10. And that is greater than the chocolates we have, which are 6. So 8 is not our answer. B was actually 6. So M was 8. So 8 is not our answer. So we'll set high to m minus 1, that is 7. Again, mid will be L plus h by 2, that is 6. So we'll check if 6 can be our answer. If we check 6, we will take 2 and 4, which sums to 6. We'll take 1 here and we'll take 2 here. The total sum is 6 plus 1 plus 2, that means 9, and that is greater than b. So 6 is not our answer. So we'll set high to mid minus 1, and that brings us to 6 again. And again we'll check 6, and we know that 6 returns false. So again we'll set high to mid minus 1, that is 5, and after doing that, L will be greater than high. So we'll finally return the stored answer, which is 5. So 5 will be our answer in this case. So let's look at the code to understand it more clearly. So I0 stores, we have a list A where AI0 is the ID and AI1 is the chocolates requested. So we'll store the chocolates requested by each children in a vector. So we have a map of into vector. That means the key is an integer, which is the children ID, and the value is a vector. That means all the requests of that children. So iterate over the vector 2D vector A and append I1 to I0. Now we set low to 0 and high to a very big number, that is infinity. So while high is greater than equal to low, now mid is L plus h by 2. So we'll check if mid can be our answer. If mid can be our answer, we'll assign answer as mid and we'll look for higher answers by setting L as mid plus 1. Otherwise, we'll set high to mid minus 1 and we'll return answer. Now the only thing is to check if answer can be a mid. So toad stores the total number of chocolates requested. So we'll iterate over all the children. So current actually stores the chocolates requested by the current children. So we'll iterate over the vector of request for that children. If taking that children makes us take more than x chocolates, we'll break because we don't want to take more than x chocolates. Otherwise, we'll add j to the current number of chocolates. And finally, after serving all the requests, we'll add cur to the total number of chocolates taken. So the total number of chocolates taken should be less than equal to b. So this will return true if total is less than equal to b, otherwise false. So now let's think about the time complexity. So the time complexity is, we have a log of 10 to the power 9 here for the binary search. And now we'll iterate over all the children. So if we have m children, it will be of the order m. And since we are using map, we can say that it can be m log m as well. Or you can use unordered map. So it can be m log m into 10 to the power 9 into log of 10 to the power 9 or m into log of 10 to the power 9. And either will work for this case. So now let's look at the next problem. Red zone. So yeah, I'll ignore the story and tell you the problem. So we have assumed that the earth is flat. Let us imagine it as an infinite 2D grid. They have the coordinates of certain points which are orange zones and have some COVID-19 cases reported. Now each day the orange zones become more fatal. After D days, all the locations within a Euclidean distance of D of a particular orange zone can be affected by the zone. There are n orange zones and we know the coordinate of them. Now a location is considered an red zone if it is affected by at least B orange zones. You need to find the first day at which the first red zone is reported. So for example, let's look at the first sample. So we have 8, 5, 0, 4 and 3, 6 and B is 3. That means it should be affected by 3 orange zones. So one of the red zone will be 5, 4 because the distance of 5, 4 from 8, 3 will be around 8 minus 5 square plus 5 minus 4 square, that is under root of 10, which is less than or equal to 5 because answer is 5 in our case. That means after 5th day we will get a red zone. Now the distance between 0, 4 and 5, 4 is 5. So which is less than equal to 5 and the distance of 3, 6 from 5, 4 is 5 minus 3 square plus 6 minus 4 square, that is under root of 8, which is again less than 5. So the answer will be 5. After 5th day we will get in red zone. Now let's look at the second sample, 2, 3, 9, 4, 10, 3. So one of the red zone will be 9, 3 and it is a distance of, within a distance of 1 from 2 orange zones. That means we'll get a red zone after 1 day only. So the distance of 9, 3 from 2, 3 is 7. So it won't be affected by it on the first day. The distance of 9, 3 from 9, 4 is 1. So it will be affected and the distance of 9, 3 from 10, 3 is again 1. So it will be affected after 1 day. So the answer will be 1 in this case because after day 1, 9, 3 is affected by 2 orange zones. So let's look at the solution outline. Now the first observation is that again we have monotonicity. That means if we have a red zone on day D, then we will definitely have a red zone on day D plus 1. Because more and more region will get affected. So previous red zone will definitely be a red zone afterwards. So we can use binary search to find the first day in which a red zone appears. So now given a day D, we need to find if a red zone is present on the given day. So let's say we have some points. Now, this point will affect all the points within a distance of d from this point. So what we can do is we can draw a circle of radius d centered around this point with radius d, and all the points which lie inside the circle will be affected by this point. Now similarly we can do it for this point as well. So centered at this point and within a radius d. So what you can say that all the points which lie in the intersection of these two circles will be within a distance of d from both these points, because they lie inside both the circles. Now consider another point. Let's say we consider this point. So we'll draw a circle of radius d centered at this point. So this is d. Now all the points in this region, which is the intersection of these three circles, will be within a distance d from all these 3 points. So from here we can observe that the corner points, so these are the 3 corner points of this intersection region. The corner points of the intersection region of any subset of circles will definitely be a point which occurs as an intersection of any 2 circles in that region. So for example, we have these 3 corner points. Now this point is the intersection of this circle and this circle. This point is an intersection of this circle and this circle. This point is an intersection of this circle and this circle. So all the corner points will be intersection of any 2 circles from the set. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to find the candidate red zones. So we don't have to worry about the points in the region. We can only check the points, the corner points of the region as red zone candidates. Because if we check this point will be present inside all the 3 circles. Again, this point will be present inside all the 3 circles. This point will be present inside all the 3 circles. We may have other points inside this region as well, which are present between all the 3 circles, but we just need to check if we have a red zone or not. So what we are trying to do is trying to find candidates for red zones. So what we can do is, for every pair of circles, we'll find the intersection points. So 2 circles can have at most 2 intersection points. So this can be the case for 2 intersection points. They may not intersect as well, or they can only intersect at one point as well. So we can have 0, 1 or 2 intersection points of circles, and so we have NC2 pairs of circles, and each pair can give us 2 candidates for red zones. So we'll have around n into n-1 candidates for red zones. So these are the points we need to check if they are the red zones. So checking if a point is red zone or not is easy. We'll just check the point, that how many circles it lies into. That is, we'll check the distance of this point from all the n points, and keep a count of how many distances are less than or equal to d. So the total number of points whose distance is less than or equal to d should be greater than or equal to b for it to be a red zone. So checking that will be of the order n. So the total time complexity will be n into n-1 into n. But now, how do we find the intersection of 2 circles? So now our problem is finding the intersection of 2 circles. So checking if 2 circles intersect or not is easy. The distance between these 2 points, if this is greater than 2 into d, if this distance is greater than 2 into d, then the circles will not intersect, otherwise they will intersect. So let's assume that the distance is less than or equal to 2 into d, so they do intersect. So consider these 2 circles. So let's actually deal this in terms of vectors. So R1 vector denotes the center of first circle, and R2 vector denotes the center of second circle. So this vector will be R2 minus R1 vector. R2 minus R1 vector. So let's call it V. So V is R2 vector minus R1 vector. Now mod of V will give us the distance. So let's call R as mod of V. That means R is the distance between these 2 points. And let's actually construct this. So this is R and this is D, which is the center of circle. And this is again D, which is the center of circle. Let's draw a perpendicular from here. So since it is an isosceles triangle and we draw a perpendicular, this will divide this side. This will bisect this side. So this distance will be R by 2 and this distance will be R by 2. Now let's call H as the height of this triangle. So H will be under root of D square minus R by 2 square by Pythagoras theorem, since it is a right triangle. Now we have v vector. So let's make v vector a unit vector. So we'll divide v vector by r to make it a unit vector, since its modulus is r. Now let's call the components of this vector as gx and gy. That means the x component and the y component. So now we are trying to find this perpendicular vector. This perpendicular vector, let's call it PER, perpendicular vector. So perpendicular vector will be minus g of y comma g of x. Since the dot product will be 0, minus gx gy plus gx gy, the dot product will be 0. So this will be a perpendicular vector, but this is a unit vector, so we'll multiply by h, since the modulus is h. Now, finding this points and this points is quite easy now. So let's actually first find this point. So this point will be r1 plus r2 by 2, since it is the midpoint. So mid will be r1 plus r2 by 2, r1 vector plus r2 vector by 2. Now, these 2 points will be mid plus perpendicular vector, comma, we have 2 points, mid minus perpendicular vector. So this will be the 2 points, mid plus perpendicular vector, mid minus perpendicular vector. So in this way we can find the 2 points. So if you don't know about how vectors work, try to read it, or you can also use any other methods for circle intersection, any algebraic method, but I find this the most easy to implement and understand. So let's look at the code to make it more clear. So if n is the size of A, now AI is the vector of points AI0 and AI1. We set L to 1, that is the minimum day should be 1 because we don't have any red zone initially, and the maximum answer can be around, let's say, 2 into 10 to the power 9. We do a binary search while high is greater than equal to low. We'll check if m can be our answer. If m can be our answer, we'll assign answer as m, and then we'll look for smaller answers by assigning high as m minus 1. Otherwise, we'll look for higher answers by setting L as m plus 1, and we'll return the answer. Now the main part, checking. So I actually used complex numbers for implementation. So because they actually quite work like vector. So if we have a complex number, let's say a, b and c, d, and we add these 2 numbers, what will this do? It will return a plus c and b plus d, just like how vectors work. And similarly for the difference as well. And absolute of a vector actually returns the distance. So absolute of a vector v, let's say this vector will return, absolute of ab will return under root of a square plus b square, that is the distance from zero origin. So that helps us in solving a lot of geometry things. So I have used complex numbers for implementation. Now C is the maximum number of intersection points. So now we are finding all the candidate red zones. So we'll iterate from I equal to 0 to I to n, and then j equal to I plus 1 to j equal to n. That is, we have iterated over all the NC2 pairs of circles. Now AI is the center of first circle and AJ is the center of second circle. So we assign G vector as AJ minus AI. That means this vector. So this vector is G vector and D is the distance between them. So D is the distance. That is the value of this vector. If the distance is greater than 2r, where r is the radius, that is the binary search value, then we will continue because they won't have any intersection otherwise. And mid is AI plus AJ by 2. That means mid is the middle point of AI and AJ. So we know that if we draw the circles around these 2 points, then if this is the radius r and this is the radius r, then if we draw perpendicular from here, it will bisect this side. So mid is this point. H is the height, which is square root of r square minus d by 2 whole square, because this will be bisected. So this distance will be d by 2 and this distance will also be d by 2. Now we are finding perpendicular. So perpendicular will be the minus g dot y upon d and g dot x upon d. Because minus g dot y comma g dot x returns a perpendicular vector whose value is d, modulus, absolute value is d, modulus is d. So we divide it by d to make it a unit vector. Now we will multiply it by the height to make it this vector. And since we know this mid, so one of the points will be mid minus perpendicular and one of the point will be mid plus perpendicular. So now we found the intersection point. So we assign C1 as 2 and C2 as 2. That means C1 is the intersection number of circles in which this point lies, and C2 is the number of circles in which this point lies. This point lies between ith circle and jth circle. Similarly, this point lies between ith circle and j circle. So we'll assign C1 and C2 as 2. So we'll iterate from L equal to 0 to L equal to n. If L is I and L is 0, we will continue because we have already considered that this point lies within these two circles. Otherwise, we'll check if the distance of AL from this mid minus per will be this point. If this distance is less than or equal to r, we'll increment our counter because it lies within circle centered at AL. And if it lies within a distance of r from mid plus per, which is this point, we'll increment C2 counter. Now, C is the maximum number of intersection points stored. So C will be maximum of C, C1 and C2. Finally, we'll just check if C is greater than or equal to K, where K is equal to B. That means red zone should at least be affected by K orange zones. So we'll check if we have a point which is affected by K orange zones. So I'll return C greater than K as the value. So I hope this was clear to you. Thank you for watching this video.